it's funny because then I came back and I reconnected with the same people I was working 10 years before.
いや、今日はもうこれ出ないからね。
あ、そっかそっかそっか。そうだ、ユーザーのこれ、あれ、これなのか。そっか、並行して。
そうです。あ、
Morning. Jadi ruangan yang beda lagi. Sampai jam 3. Apa kata?
Good morning. While waiting for the program to start, we have flashed on screen a survey, a QR code that links to a survey of project ideas for air quality improvement. It's a very short survey. We hope that you can submit your project ideas and we will try to match you with a potential funder. Thank you.
কখন মেসেজ দিচ্ছে উঠতে পারছে?
8:30 মেসেজ।
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the final day of the Better Air Quality Conference 2026. We'll be getting started in 15 minutes, so we invite you all to please settle in and make yourselves comfortable. As we wrap up this year's conference, we encourage all participants to please complete the post-conference survey. You'll find the QR code displayed on screens right now. As a token of our appreciation, survey respondents will receive a limited edition BAQ 2026 souvenir, which you can claim at the Clean Air Asia booth starting from the coffee break later on. Thank you so much for being part of BAQ 2026, and we look forward to your valuable feedback. We hope everyone was able to scan the QR code for the post-event survey. And now, as part of our shared commitment to accelerating cleaner air across Asia, the Asian Development Bank and Clean Air Asia are so excited to invite you to participate in the BAQ 2026 Project Funding Matchmaking Initiative. This builds on the success of BAQ 2023, which attracted more than 60 project ideas. For BAQ 2026, we have strengthened the process. We are aiming for high-impact project ideas while making it easier to bridge proponents with the relevant funders and partners, and of course, vice versa. This survey collects high-impact, well-defined project ideas that can deliver significant reductions in both air pollutants and climate pollutants. The information will help us identify strong opportunities for funding, investment, and collaboration. You may opt to receive concise summaries of the results and any matchmaking outcomes shortly after this conference. Please note, participation does not guarantee funding or partnerships for any submitted idea, but we do invite all of you to please scan the QR code. Thank you. Some reminders about our program today. Parallel sessions will start promptly at 11 a.m. at the session rooms on level 1 and at the theater room on the ground floor. We will be back here at the conference room 2 for the closing plenary with a 2-part panel which brings together key representatives from national and city governments, intergovernmental bodies, academe, funders, and civil society organizations to outline policies, actions, and partnerships that they will undertake to accelerate and scale air pollution reduction. The closing plenary will start at 1:30 p.m. today. We hope to see you soon there. The Forging South-South Partnerships and Accelerating Collective Action on Air Pollution Plenary will start in 5 minutes. So we invite you to please settle in and make yourselves comfortable. For now, we will be showing you the highlights from day 2 of the BAQ with this video.
Is critical. There's a lot of information available. It's a matter of integrating the information that we have to apply a range of available tools, focusing on incremental improvements. Where multiple countries are coming together to share expertise, creating partnerships, and defining common goals, drawing on experience from all relevant stakeholders.
The enabling environment is absolutely critical to realizing the co-benefits of climate change and clean air.
To prioritize and institutionalize clean air goals from policy to monitoring to management and markets.
Let's work together to drive this positive momentum. And I think the last thing I'm going to highlight is if we're going to do this, and if we're going to build political will to do this, the last thing I would love to see us get behind is stronger presence and recognition of the importance of clean air.
We are very, very lucky to have many experts from academia and civil society that help us understand.
It's always difficult to take the first step, but once the first step is taken, it's now important to build on what we've built.
Very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Anshuman Verma. I'm the Economic Affairs Officer at the Environment and Development Division at SESCAM. On behalf of the co-organizers of today's plenary session, SESCAM and the Education and Environment Program, it's indeed my pleasure to welcome all of you to this plenary on forging South-South partnerships and accelerating collective action on air pollution. The theme of this year's BAQ, as you know, is together for today's guys, and central to this theme is the aspect of cooperation and multi-stakeholder partnerships. This is also something that's been a common thread running across the discussion that we had on the first and second day of BAQ. I think as has also been mentioned, air pollution is a strong transformative dimension to the issue, and with that, let me quickly introduce the presenter and the keynote speaker that we have on the podium. We have Dr. Simon, the Director of the Environment and Development Division of sedang, as our presenter. He's joined by John King, Senior Program Officer at UNEP, and we're also very pleased to have as our keynote speaker Mr. Sheldon Burgess, Commissioner of the Common Commission, and the Chair of the Green Cities Advisory Committee, and the Board of University Body Cities, and also a former London University Mayor for Environment and Energy. So without further ado, let me invite Dr. Simon for his presentation on air quality in the Asia Pacific region and opportunities for regional cooperation.
Good morning. It is a really great pleasure to welcome you to this last plenary session of a BAQ conference of 2026. I'm also pleased to have this chance to speak about our air quality assessment and opportunities for regional cooperation. Should we put the slide? Many of you are well aware of air quality situation and trends across our sub-regions and also at the regional level. This number, around 90% of the population exposed to unhealthy air. This is quite a common message, quite a common knowledge across for us. And during last 10 years, we have seen some progress in countries, especially like China, and also some progress in Southeast Asia. As this graph shows that, like South Asia's case, the situation is like really significant. And even for China, even if it has made a big progress during last, especially since 2014, the level of PM 2.5 is still just below 30. But we are also pleased to note that the government of China recently strengthened its air quality guideline standard from 35 microgram to 25 microgram per cubic meter for annual guideline. And Southeast Asia, though the current PM level is relatively low compared with South Asia and China, but we still see quite a high level of air pollution in many of our major cities and many of our hotspots. So we cannot simply look at this graph to say air progress, but we do also need to look at the situation of specific hotspots and especially major cities and also cities or even rural towns in transboundary air share. This assessment is from our air quality status and trends in Asia Pacific region report we published last year. This is also based on remote sensing data, satellite data, and as this shows that China shows clear decline across different pollutants after 2013 policy. And especially SO2, you can find a major reduction in China. And also aerosol optical depth, which is a proxy of PM, we have seen this progress. But South Asia, especially eastern part, shows rising SO2 and increasing aerosol optical depth. And this area covers India, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal, so this shows quite a high impact of our transboundary air pollution. And Southeast Asia, also some part of South Asia, we experience this seasonal warming and haze events when it comes to Thailand, mostly from November and March, so we have experienced heavy haze. This year is relatively good, but this is still challenging in this Mekong region and many parts of South Asia. This is also from our analysis looking at air quality situation of cities in our different sub-region, Northeast Asia, Central Asia, and South Asia, and Southeast Asia. Again, this is not the number of days, it's the number of the percentage of days exceeding the WHO guideline. Again, I'm highlighting this, the case of South Asia. As you can see, this brown color, some of the cities, they are experiencing more than 50% of the days, like over 180 days or 200 days, exceeding 75 microgram. And also, many cities are experiencing above 50 microgram per year. So, while we are highlighting this regional trend, we also need to look at some region-specific case, also city-specific case, and then this will help us identify which cities, which sub-region we have to prioritize for regional and international cooperation, and what kind of capacity building we need to target countries or cities in this hotspot. Now we are zooming into this children group. As you can see, many cities, many students in South Asia, they are exposed to quite high level of air pollution. And this report from World Bank, please look at this. I got warning message that I have only 5 minutes, so I will move quickly. And this report makes excellent analysis of air pollution in Indo-Gangetic Plain of South Asia, and also provide very practical solutions. And then from this regional report, some evidence assessment. So really diverse source and anthropogenic dominance of air pollution, especially urban cluster. During this meeting, we were highlighting some of our presentation, highlighting the impact of fuel switch and fuel quality improvement. So this is one important message. And targeted investment and enforced abatement impact, especially when we look at like China's case and also many now cities in South Asia, the impact of targeted policy is quite significant. And data transparency and harmonization. Many of our speakers throughout the days spoke about the importance of air quality monitoring data and harmonization. So this is also highlighted in this report. And ecosystem cooperation and enforcement gaps. So we have a multilateral mechanism in each sub-region, but many are not really strong enough in terms of their institutional capacity and financing. And for South Asia, Marlin Declaration has been there from 1998, but during the last 10 years, it's not really functioning. So how to strengthen sub-regional cooperation will also key for managing our air pollution. And then few recommendations here. Monitoring. We are highlighting also remote sensing, but ground level monitoring is still important. And many of our member states here, they have less than 20 or 30 monitoring stations across countries. Some are relying on more other forms of remote sensing, but we do need to really strengthen this ground level monitoring capacity. And then also open data and common analytical framework. This was also highlighted by many speakers throughout the sessions. And sub-regional mechanisms, including ISMO, is also building open data platform. So this will be also important for our regional and sub-regional cooperation. And And then here also, let me highlight this air shadow-based management. For us, domestic level or country level capacity building and technical cooperation is important. But many cases here, we are really experiencing serious impact from transboundary air shadow in the macro region and Indo-Gangetic plain. Also, on the day one, we listened to presentation on Bangkok City and its neighboring cities of cooperation. So air shadow management is also important for us. Here we have Asia Pacific Regional Action Program on air pollution, which was adopted by our member state in 22. This is the first regional action program, and that's why ESCA is hosting this conference in UN Conference Center. And it's not really to create a new mechanism, but to support the existing multilateral and multi-stakeholder cooperation. So we are here to really work with other mechanisms, particularly on air quality management and air quality monitoring. There's the practice exchange and capacity building and strengthening long-term multilateral cooperation. And in this regard, so we created this RAPA Partnership and Coordination Platform, which is being supported by Clean Air Fund and Energy Foundation. We are very grateful for their generous contribution to launch and operate this RAPA platform. So this is to coordinate regional and multilateral partners' activities and jointly mobilize our resources to support capacity building of our member states. And this regional action program, like the Paris Agreement, doesn't belong to UN Secretariat. Paris Agreement belongs to everybody. And this regional action program, it's not just for ESCA, it can be action program for all other entities and multilateral programs and countries. So through this platform, we wish to enhance our collective ownership of actions and also better coordinate our activities. We, taking this opportunity, we would like to express our appreciation to those partners who joined this platform. We look forward to collaborating with you for strengthening our regional and multilateral cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation and providing the overview of the quality landscape in the region, and also finding areas for regional and multi-stakeholder cooperation. Let me pass on the floor to Mr. Johnson from the Organization Environment Program for the presentation on strategic partnership for human community.
Good morning, Excellencies and colleagues. It's my great pleasure to join you today for this plenary and have an opportunity to present UNEP's strategic partnerships in the region that complements the RAPA that we just presented on. Can I get my slide on, please? Okay. So UNEP has a clear mandate on air quality coming both from UN Environment Assembly and UN General Assembly. The most recent UNEP resolution on air quality was adopted in 2024. It's titled Promoting Regional Cooperation on Air Pollution to Improve Air Quality Globally. This resolution encourages member states and their partners to accelerate efforts and invites further regional cooperation, financing, and goal setting. So this resolution sends a clear message that air pollution cannot be solved by countries acting alone. Stronger regional cooperation is essential. The resolution also includes several specific requests to UNEP, including establishing UNTS, air pollution remains a strong priority for UNEP. The strategic objective 3 of the new UNTS is called A Pollution-Free Planet, and it aims to reduce pollution in air, soil, and water, and enhance environmental quality and health for people and the planet. In particular, through the thematic sub-program on chemicals and pollution action, UNEP promotes the uptake of solutions to improve air quality. Now I would like to turn to what the latest science tells us. So the Global Environment Outlook GEO report is UNEP's flagship scientific assessment that provides comprehensive overview of the environmental trends and solution pathways, and this report is mandated by member states through the UN Environment Assembly. And the most recent edition, the 7th edition of GEO, was launched during the UNEA 7, and the report emphasizes that air pollution is a core part of the triple planetary crisis. 6 out of the top 10 countries with the worst air pollution level are from the Asia-Pacific region. The report also finds that the average pollution-induced productivity loss is 8 times higher in the region's developing countries than the developed countries. In addition, the ground-level ozone continues to reduce crop yields across Asia, threatening food security and rural livelihoods. The GEO7 not only talks about the challenges, but also about solutions. Strengthening regional cooperation in the region is vital to achieve transformative solutions through knowledge sharing, technology transfer, and international partnerships. Mobilizing green and climate-aligned finance is essential to cut air pollution and deliver clean air gains across the Asia-Pacific region. So now I would like to give you some concrete examples of strategic partnerships in the region that UNEP is supporting. The Asset Deposition Monitoring Network in East Asia, what we call ENET, was established in 2001, so this year we're celebrating the 25th anniversary of the network. And we have 13 member states participating across Southeast Asia and Northeast Asia. And the network initially began with a focus on asset deposition, but in 2021, the network expanded its scope to include broader atmospheric substances like particulate matter, ozone, and VOC. The network also adopted a new project fund mechanism. So now we have high-quality data sets for 25 years in open access, and more than 40 ENN projects have been implemented on various issues, including nitrogen management, VOCs, low-cost sensors, capacity building, and policy support. UNEP is also hosting Asia Pacific Clean Air Partnership, APCAP, and this partnership was established in 2014 to strengthen science policy interface, technical support, capacity building, and financing and partnership in the region. So last year in March, the partnership convened the 5th joint forum in Yokohama, Japan, to explore how to mobilize greater investment for clean air. And following the stakeholders' recommendations, the current APCAP work is focusing on co-benefits of integrated approach towards air quality management and climate action, as well as access to finance and solutions for ground-level ozone. And the Asia-Pacific Forum on Health and Environment is also another great example of partnership between air pollution sector and the health sector. So this forum was established in 2004, and it provides platform for cooperation and collaboration between the two sectors, focusing on sharing knowledge and experiences and advocating for measures to protect the health and well-being caused by environmental risk factors. The thematic working group on air quality and health has been very active under this forum. Over the past years, UNEP has convened a series of regional platforms to identify good practices and facilitate knowledge sharing and exchange of solutions. In addition to the BAQ and the APCAP joint forum I mentioned before, we're celebrating the International Day of Clean Air and Blue Skies globally and regionally. And we are also organizing Clean Air Week. So last year in 2025, we had Clean Air Week right here in Bangkok, and it provided a unique opportunity for engagement across government, academia, civil society, and the private sector, strengthening regional movement for clean air. So we believe these gatherings are not only events, they are partnership accelerators because they provide momentum for regional cooperation, for shared data, harmonized standards, and coordinated action. So we look forward to working with all of you and carrying this momentum forward. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Joachim, for the presentation and highlighting examples of cooperation from women's work. Now I would invite Mr. Sherry Levin, Commissioner from the Commission for Improvement.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you to the hosts, UNESCO, UNEP, and Clean Air Asia for the opportunity to join this important discussion. Every breath we take connects us across cities, across borders, and across generations. Yet for billions of people around the world, the air they breathe every day is unsafe. Air pollution has become one of the defining environmental and public health challenges of our time. It is now the second leading risk factor for premature deaths globally, responsible for nearly 8 million deaths every year. But nowhere is this crisis more visible than in Asia, and we've heard some of the stats from these two presentations here. The Asia-Pacific region accounts for nearly 2/3 of global premature deaths linked to air pollution. Across South and Southeast Asia, many cities experience PM2.5 concentrations far exceeding WHO interim targets for a significant proportion of the year. In some of the region's fastest growing cities, pollution levels routinely reach concentrations that place millions of people at risk of respiratory illness, cardiovascular disease, and other chronic conditions. Yet the impacts of polluted air extend far beyond public health. It also affects economic productivity, workforce participation, tourism, and overall economic resilience. Globally, the economic cost of air pollution is estimated to exceed $8 trillion annually, roughly 6% of global GDP. Clean air, therefore, is not just an environmental issue, it's a health priority, an economic priority. It's also a matter of equity and social justice, because the burden of polluted air falls disproportionately on the poorest communities, women, children, and workers who have the least power to avoid it. And that's precisely why the Our Common Air Commission was established. The Commission brings together global leaders from science, public health, policy, and city leadership to elevate clean air as a global priority and to accelerate action. Under the leadership of our co-chairs, Right Honourable Helen Clark and Dr. Sumya Swaminathan, we, as commissioners, are working together to catalyse and accelerate global collective action on air pollution. At the heart of the Commission's work is a simple but powerful principle. Clean air should be recognised as a fundamental In other words, one of the world's biggest health crises remains one of the least funded. This gap between the scale of the problem and the resources committed to solving it must change. First, the Commission stresses that air pollution isn't just a local challenge, but a regional one. Pollution travels across cities, across countries, and across regions. Seasonal haze, agricultural burning, industrial emissions, and urban pollution frequently cross national boundaries. This means that no country and no city can solve the problem alone. Regional cooperation is therefore essential. And encouragingly, we're already seeing important frameworks emerging across Asia. The Asia-Pacific Regional Action Programme on Air Pollution, adopted by ESCAP member states, reflects a growing recognition that coordinated regional action, open data, and shared policy learning are essential. Regional monitoring networks such as the Acid Deposition Monitoring Network in East Asia and initiatives such as the Asia-Pacific Clean Air Partnership are also helping countries strengthen monitoring systems and exchange best practices. These initiatives represent important progress, but given the scale of the challenge, the next step must be to accelerate implementation and deepen collaboration across the region. From the perspective of the African Air Commission, Asia has a unique opportunity to demonstrate global leadership. And there are several areas where regional collaboration can significantly accelerate that progress. First, there's an opportunity to strengthen regional political leadership on clean air. With limited resources on climate change, despite the severe health and economic consequences we face due to it, the imperative coordinated action at the local, regional, national and global level has never been bigger. So what would this look like for regions like Asia? Perhaps a regional leadership platform bringing together mayors, ministers, institutions and development partners with a mandate to align priorities, share progress and strengthen accountability could and should be explored. Clean air must be elevated alongside climate, energy and economic cooperation within regional policy frameworks. Second, we must address the clean air finance gap. Despite the enormous health and economic costs of air pollution, global funding for air quality remains extremely limited. In fact, recent data shows that international funding for outdoor air pollution declined in recent years, even as pollution levels continue to rise. And at the same time, financing that prolongs fossil fuel use continues to increase. That's a contradiction we must confront. Clean air should not be viewed as a cost, not just as a cost, but as an investment in healthier societies, stronger economies, and more resilient cities. An assessment of the costs and benefits of the Clean Air Act, done by the United States EPA, found that for every US $1 spent on air pollution control, yielded an estimated $30 in economic benefits. So we have to mobilise more finance and ensure air quality is considered as we develop investments and projects. Toolkits like the World Economic Forum Air Quality Toolkit for Development Finance Institutions can help integrate air quality into cross-sectoral investments and boost the level of financing. And I'm really encouraged by the conversations and the discussions we've been hearing this week at the VAQ from financial institutions talking about doing just that. And third, we must strengthen regional data systems and transparency. Effective air quality management depends on reliable monitoring, comparable data, and open information systems. There is no single authoritative, comprehensive, and regularly updated database that provides recent national air pollution levels across the world, not even for PM2.5. Data reported on city emissions often doesn't exist or is out of date. It's reported there is no evidence of air quality monitoring in 36% of countries, and only about 27% of countries provide fully transparent air quality data. Therefore, one of the key recommendations of our Common Air is for countries and international partners to establish a country-led global system to track annual PM2.5 levels. This would be a combination of government monitors, satellite data, or open methodologies, including low-cost real-time monitors, to ensure that every country can regularly measure and report air pollution, that it can be aligned with the WHO guidelines by 2030. Better data leads to better policy, and ultimately better outcomes for public health. Fourth, Asia has enormous potential to expand South-South collaboration and policy learning, and cities are central to that transformation. Some of the most innovative solutions to air pollution are already emerging across Asian cities. Cities are experimenting with electric mobility, cleaner public transport, low emission zones, integrated urban planning, and cleaner household energy systems. Through city networks and partnerships, these lessons can be scaled and spread far more rapidly. For example, green cities, through political leadership and using better data, technical assistance, sharing of lessons, and critically engaging and collaborating with local stakeholders and communities is driving fast action, like here in Bangkok, where they've reduced agricultural burning hotspots by 40% and high pollution days in January by 50%. Or C40 bringing together nearly 100 global cities to tackle climate change, reducing emissions 5 times faster than the global average, showing multilateralism works, and we can achieve our climate and air quality goals together. Urban governments sit at the heart of many of the decisions that shape air quality, from transport systems and land use planning to building standards and waste management. With the right support, including finance, technical expertise and strong data systems, cities can drive even greater improvements in air quality. But we have to work together, we can't do this alone. So, in conclusion, we are at an important moment. Across Asia, awareness of the air pollution crisis is growing. Citizens are demanding action, governments are strengthening policy frameworks. Cities are demonstrating leadership and seeing real and fast reductions in air pollution. And regional institutions are expanding cooperation. At the same time, the connections between air pollution, climate change, public health, equity, and economic resilience are becoming increasingly clear. Clean air represents one of the most powerful opportunities we have to advance health, climate action, equality, and economic prosperity at the same time. So by strengthening South-South partnerships, regional cooperation, collective leadership, and citizen engagement, Asia can accelerate progress and deliver cleaner air and healthier and more prosperous futures for millions of people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and Louis, for those presentations and supporting the value of not just partnership, but also strong leadership in tackling air pollution. Thank you. So I think one round of applause, please. Thank you for our open session speakers and presenters. In the audience. So this brings us to the end of the vision segment on the presentations and the keynote, and we can now commence the next segment, which is the panel discussion on Houston and stakeholder cooperation for clean air. I'm very pleased to introduce as our moderator for this session, Ms. Elisa Gozun, who is a member of the Board of Trustees of Clean Air Asia, and also recognized leader in environmental and climate advocacy, and the former Secretary of the Department of Environment and Natural Resources of the Philippines, and the presidential advisor on climate change in the Philippines. So we're very pleased to have you with us, and we will pass on.
Thank you, Ashman. Friends, partners, colleagues, isang magandang malikasang umaga sa inyo na. That's an environmentally friendly good morning to you all. When I ever speak in an international conference, I like to start by speaking in our language, if only to stress the fact that the value of our participation is really what we do when we go back to our countries. The preceding presentation from ESCA highlighted the state of air quality in the region and underscored the urgent need for all of us to take action. It also highlighted the Regional Action Program on Air Pollution, or RAPA, as a key framework for cooperation to tackle air pollution, with 5 action areas negotiated and agreed upon by the ESCAP member states in 2022, namely air quality management, monitoring and data sharing, best practice exchanges, capacity building, and commitment to multilateral cooperation. On the other hand, the presentation from UNEP highlighted for us that 6 of 10 countries with the worst air quality is actually in our region, and most affected are the developing countries. It highlighted the relevant UNEA resolutions as initiatives such as EANet and the Asia-Pacific Clean Air Partnership, as well as the Asia-Pacific Forum on Health and the Environment, as examples of regional cooperation. The preceding keynote remarks from Ms. Shirley Rodriguez, Commissioner of our Common Air, emphasizing the fact that there is an imperative for us to increase financing for air quality, which affects all of us, increase and improve global data systems, as well as the importance of forging South-South partnerships and accelerating collective action on air pollution, with cities at the center of this action. Now we will have a panel discussion on the theme of regional and multi-stakeholder cooperation for clean air. It brings together a diverse set of stakeholders representing policymakers, the academia, multilateral development banks, civil society, and the private sector, to delve deeper into specific dimensions and opportunities for multi-stakeholder cooperation and partnership. We will start off with a case study of a presentation from China, after which we will have 5 panelists engaging in an interactive panel discussion. This will be followed by a Q&A. To start off, I am pleased to invite Mr. Long Yang, the Deputy Director General of the Department of Atmospheric Environment of the Ministry of Ecology and Environment in China, to deliver a case presentation on air pollution control in China, achievements, and next steps. This presentation will take 7 minutes.
Thank you, Alicia. Okay. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Today, we gather in Vancouver for a battle meeting. I would like to thank SCAP, UNET, CAA, and all co-organizers for the opportunity to share China's experience. China's air pollution issue has been a 40-year marathon, but the real sprint happened in the last decade. We launched 3 nationwide consecutive action plans, targeting all pollutants, especially PM2.5. You could say we reached a systematic nationwide war against pollution. And the result, just like Mr. Lam said a moment before, air quality improved significantly from 2015 to last year. China's GDP increased by 42%, and the number of cars more than doubled. But the concentration of PM2.5 decreased by 39%. The numbers of heavy pollution days in Beijing dropped from almost 2 months per year to just 1 day last year. Look at this picture. Air quality backward. The right means heavy pollution. The green means good air. See, the green is the right is fading away, and the green is taking over. But to be honest, it wasn't easy. and 1/3 of its electricity. So we will do. We have to make fundamental changes, restructuring our energy industry and the transportation system to reduce pollution while maintaining economic growth. Specifically, here's what we did. First, on energy, we focused on counting pollution from coal. Clean energy now makes up most of our incremental energy. We phased out 80% of the country's coal-fired boilers and have helped more than 42 million householders switch from coal to gas or electricity for heating in winter. These measures cut coal use totally by more than 500 million tons per year. Look at these retired boilers. They are like exhibits in a boiler museum. Second, in industry, we pushed companies to go clean. Today, 95% of coal power plants and 80% of steel companies have completed ultra-low emission upgrades. Their standards are the strictest in the world, cutting emission by 60 to 80%. Third, in transportation, we kept improving fuel and vehicle standards. It took over 20 years, but now our standards have caught up with global lead levels. Look at these bottles. They contain black carbon from diesel vehicles for the years. 25 years ago, one car emitted 273 grams per 100 kilometers, and now it's only 3 grams. Another unbelievable thing is the explosion of the new energy vehicles. China has been the world's largest new energy vehicles market for 10 years. Now, 7 out of every 10 new energy vehicles are sold in China. We are also using new technology in city management. For example, the air dome you see here is not a stadium. It covers a construction set with almost no dust or noise. In terms of management, we also innovated. We set air quality targets to every province, and the performance is tied to how local governments are evaluated. We also established special funds, investing more than 3 trillion RMB, about 415 billion US dollars. We now have the world's largest air quality monitoring network with more than 1,600 national stations and 30,000 local stations. Whenever widespread health which comes, the central government coordinates multiple governments to work together. Finally, the challenges ahead. Finally, the challenges ahead. The hardest is our GAM 2.5 concentration is still high, 6 times the WHO standards, and 3 to 4 times the level in Europe today. In the next 10 years, our our goal is to bring our PM 2.5 below 25 micrograms. It's a long and tough journey, but we are confident because the hardest part is behind us. We believe that with persistent efforts, from every city, every day, every one of us, blue skies and clean air can become norm. Thank you. Very interesting presentation indeed. So may I now invite our moderator and panelists to please take their seats on the podium and for our moderator to carry on the conversation.
Let me start by introducing our panelists. First, we have Mohammed Ziaul Haq, the Additional Director General of the Department of Environment of the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change in Bangladesh. We also have with us Mr. Sarawut Tepanot, who is the Associate Professor and Dean, Faculty of Public Health, Mahidol University, and Thailand Scientific Advisory Committee member for the AONM. From the Asian Development Bank, we have Mr. Michael Rattinger, who is a Senior Climate Change Specialist. We also have Ms. Nujpanit or John Narpitak, who is a Technical Advisor on Health and the Environment for FHI 360. Last but not the least, from the private sector, we have Akim Hong, who is the CEO of Air Region. We'll start off with questions, which each of them will answer for 5 minutes, and then move on to a 1-minute final intervention before we open the floor for questions from any of you. So, Ziaul, South Asia continues to experience some of the highest PM 2.5 levels globally, with frequent exceedance of the WHO interim target throughout the year. From Bangladesh perspective, what are the key structural and year-round challenges, be they emission sources, data limitations, or transboundary impacts, that make air pollution management particularly difficult in your country?
Thank you, Alicia, and good morning, colleagues and distinguished panelists. As you have mentioned about the structural challenges and the year-round challenges that Bangladesh has been facing over the years, in fact, I would say there are a number of factors, challenges, that are making our air quality management truly difficult in terms of properly handle the pollution sources and minimize the air pollution to a considerable level. And particularly during dry season, when the air quality is becoming deteriorated. And I can name some of them. And these challenges fall under both domestic and transboundary nature. And particularly, I would like to draw upon the cases about the situation of Bangladesh, looking at the special geographical locations, the meteorological conditions, which actually trigger the deterioration of air quality in dry season. And Bangladesh is situated at downwind part of Indo-Gangetic Plain and Himalayan foothills, air shade. This is the most polluted air in the world. So we are actually the member of this polluted airshed, and we are receiving the air pollution, particularly in dry season, starting from November to March, 5 months. And in terms of the other domestic challenges that Bangladesh is facing, particularly again during dry season, when the pollution, air quality situation gets worse. In fact, lack of the continuous and good monitoring capability and mechanism is also a challenge. Particularly the monitoring, lack of monitoring of industrial air pollution coming from the high-tech industries. This is very important to understand that what is the pollution sources. So in that case, we need to have a very comprehensive source apportionment study so that we can have a greater understanding on the relative contribution of the sources of pollution. So the study, the data and information are also a challenge in terms of preparing a good national air quality management plan. We prepare the national air quality management plan, but we need to have proper data information to strengthen them and to make them more effective. And at the same time, there are other issues. We have to address the low fuel quality, particularly the low diesel containing high sulfur. So this is also an important area where we need to overcome these structural barriers. At the same time, we understand that the whole of government approach is also very important. We are still suffering from a lack of interagency, interministerial cooperation and collaboration. We need to improve them gradually. We are trying back home to improve this whole of government approach. And at the same time, there are some other areas, challenges that we are facing in terms of addressing the emissions from biomass burning. So the open burning of municipal solid waste and biomass burning in household cooking are also an important area where we are struggling to contain those emissions, particularly in rural areas and in the municipalities. Open burning of waste is also a great challenge. We are struggling to contain and overcome these serious problems. And finally, I would say that we are trying to make some good monitoring with the ground level monitoring stations. So we have 31 continuous air quality monitoring stations across the country. But the point is that we have to keep the good operational maintenance of these 31 monitoring stations round the clock throughout the year. This is very important with the domestic budget and permanent staff. So this is also an important area where we are facing some structural problems, particularly considering the allocation of budget for air quality management as such. So there are some areas we need to address, particularly the priority that has been given to this area by the national government. So we need to have a good the focus from the national government, from the policy makers to address this serious problem and to minimize this air pollution control, air pollution situation to a considerable level, to a limit that can actually provide a good health service to the citizens. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Joe, highlighting both your challenge from the transboundary pollution as well as all of the local issues that you need to address. Next, for Mr. Tapanon, given the growing importance of NOx, SO2, and other trace gases highlighted in the recent regional assessments, how can scientific networks such as CANet help countries enhance their capacity for trace gas monitoring, harmonize methodologies, and move toward common or comparable air quality standards? What scientific innovations and collaborations do you think could support more integrated and coordinated air quality management across the region?
Thank you very much, and very good morning to everyone, and thank you very much for having me with you today. Well, I would say that I enjoy ENET since the preparatory phase. The formally establishment of ENET was in 2001, but in the preparatory phase, it was from 1996, so almost 30 years that I joined ENET. And from the beginning of ENET, since the preparatory phase, if you look at the experience of ENET, what they do from the first time is, of course, in the geographical location is lagging from like developed countries until the least developing country in East Asia. So we have a different level of our capacity in dealing with this kind of monitoring. Even though that sulfur dioxide or NO2 is quite a common conventional air pollutant, okay, but still because of this huge network, so it's become a big difference. So the first thing that the ENET do for the preparatory phase from the beginning is they try to standardize the methodology. And when I say the standardize of methodology, it's not just only simply just bring the technology or the reference method from like US EPA or from what they do in like implement. But they try to do like set up an appropriate monitoring method that can be suited for all the member countries. So that's why it's come to the different type of monitoring methodology for sulfur dioxide, for NO2. We may like from using like UV fluorescent reference method, equivalent method in SEPA for continuous monitoring of sulfur dioxide, until using those type of passive sampling in some country in ENET. But I think the most important thing for building up this kind of monitoring network, particularly in regional network, is you have to make sure that the data comes together with the quality. And the quality of the data has to be also comparable. Because we want to make sure that once you produce the data in this network, it can be used for, particularly for the policymaker. So I think this is a big challenge for ENET, because as I just mentioned to you before that we have different levels. But we did it very successful on that. I would say that one of the very good and very advantageous thing in this network is also they try to introduce the new technology. We are talking about a low-cost sensor right now that we never had before 5 years ago. But right now, the low-cost sector pay more important for this. So I think ENET also try to touch on this. But together on this, again, we have to make sure that the quality of the data are different with the reference or equivalent method that already been estimated in ENET. So what we have to do is we have to tell them how to interpret the result with different quality of the data. So this is a big challenge when we're talking about the data in the network. Not just with ENET, but I think also globally. The other thing that ENET can help on the network of the air pollution can do, perhaps in the future, is we shouldn't just focus on the emission, or just the concentration of the gas itself. Sulfur dioxide is perhaps no longer, very important pollutants in some countries. We already see very good experience in China. So I think it's time for us, for this network, to move on to other type of design the concentration measurement. So the emission inventory is very challenging for the network, not just with the ENET, but I think all over the world. Because the policymaker can also use this kind of emission data, and then the voluntary reduction will be occurred together with the mandatory reduction or regulatory control. So I would say that the future generation, the future scientific collaboration in the future will perhaps be focused on this kind of estimation, the emission estimation. At the same time, if we want to talk further also for the source apportionment analysis, I would say that you may have to study first whether the source apportionment analysis, what kind of apportionment analysis that you should carry out in your country or in your area. Otherwise, as a scientist, I would say that I don't want to have the data without any quality. I love to play with the data with a good quality. What kind of filter that you should do to collect for the first time when you want to do that sort of possibility analysis. Then this data will be really challenged for the policy maker for the better air quality. So that's my idea on contribution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sir Wood. Next, Michael from ADB. South-side cooperation can be a powerful driver for sharing technologies, lowering costs, and scaling successful clean air interventions. From ADB's experience, what models of regional cooperation, whether in financing, technology transfer, or capacity building, are showing the most promise? And how can development partners like ADB accelerate the uptake of such models across the Asia-Pacific region?
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. It's great to be a part of this panel. Thank you for that question. We regard South-South cooperation in terms of knowledge, technology, policy approaches, and finance as being absolutely essential. Not only because of its intrinsic importance in the countries individually, but indeed, as other speakers have said, the regional nature of air quality issues makes it almost imperative that we take a regional approach. So from the point of view of the Asian Development Bank, as the region's development bank, as the regional development bank for Asia and Pacific, maybe just to highlight three different aspects that would benefit from South-South cooperation. I'd just like to highlight the importance of programmatic approaches, the importance of knowledge transfer and technical cooperation, and then lastly, the importance of financial innovation. Turning first to the programmatic approach, and I'm so glad that Deputy Director Long Yang from the Ministry of Ecology and Environment of the People's Republic of China spoke before and gave us a very interesting and impressive performance on the activities of China, particularly around the capital region of Beijing. I'm happy to say that ADB played a role in that development through our Greater Beijing Tianjin-Hebei Air Quality Improvement Program, which began in 2015, and which really combined policy-related approaches, financing, technology deployment, and also capacity building in an integrated package. And overall, over a period of 5 years, we delivered $2.5 billion in investment in various forms that was carried out in a coordinated and sequenced fashion in coordination with policy, using multiple financial instruments, including results-based lending, which is a very interesting area in terms of air quality. We also had to work, of course, across sectors. The issue is not restricted to the classic sectors, but it's really a multi-sector issue. So incorporating decision makers and stakeholders in different areas, in the urban, energy, transport, agriculture, and industry sectors was extremely important here. And also, as DGT also explained, to help align national priorities with local action. And I think the case of the Beijing-Tianjin-Hebei Triangle is really a model case that is replicable in other contexts as well. We see the results of this, a market air quality improvement, which the DDG has already described. So hopefully this can serve as a learning for others. The second area is knowledge transfer, and technical cooperation. At its heart, we have similar issues being dealt with in different countries related to energy, transport, industry, residential, agricultural sectors contributing to this problem. And so the importance of establishing regional learning platforms for policymakers, regulators, technical agencies, and development on these issues is very important in order to exchange information and capacity on building emissions inventories, on looking at what can be successful transport and low-carbon mobility solutions, urban development innovations, looking at areas like clean heating or clean cooling, industrial retrofits, and in general terms, what types of policies and regulatory frameworks can favor action. And the ADB launched in 2022 its Asia Clean Blue Skies program, which is focusing importance of financial innovation. Air quality demands that we take a long-term and very dedicated approach, and it's really about using all of the financial instruments that we have at our disposal and in developing new ones. I think the consciousness is there that public budgets alone will not be able to sufficiently address this problem. So the question becomes, how can we mobilize that large and sustained investment? And one of the answers to that is to mobilize the private sector. So what can we do through financial innovation to de-risk private sector investment, which has a significant amount of finance and all of the technology that we will need in order to tackle this problem. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Michael. And now for John. Air pollution is widely perceived as a health issue. Yet addressing it requires multi-sectoral collaboration. From HH1's 360 perspective, what types of partnership, whether with government, academic institutions, communities, or regional platforms, are most essential to effectively address the health impacts of air pollution in the region? And what specific gaps do you see which a stronger partnership could help with?
Thank you so much, Alicia. On behalf of FHI 360, it's really a great pleasure to be part of this important conversation. So, as you mentioned, and as we all know, air pollution is fundamentally a health crisis. But the solution sits far beyond the health sector. From FHI 360's perspective, the partnerships that matter most are the ones that cut across institutional boundaries and help translate science into decisions that improve people's lives. Let me highlight 4 types of partnerships that are especially critical. The first one is government partnerships that connect health with environment, transport, and planning. Many governments now recognize air pollution as a public health priority, but action is still silent. Health ministries are often absent from conversations about transport planning or energy transition, even though those decisions directly shape health outcomes. The biggest gap we see is operational coordination, including shared data systems, joint monitoring, and mechanisms that allow agencies to act together rather than in parallel. When health is integrated into environmental or urban policies, the narrative shifts. In several Southeast Asian countries, for example, introducing health impact assessment has led transport agencies to evaluate bus fleet upgrades, not just for emissions, but for how many asthma cases they could prevent, for example. That kind of thinking brings health, environment, and economics together. Second partnership type is partnership with academic and scientific institutions to turn data into action. The region has world-class atmospheric science, health research, and policy expertise. What's often missing is the last mile translation, turning complex analytics into information that communities, journalists, and local government can actually use. A major gap is comparable, accessible data, especially health data that can be linked to pollution exposure. Stronger partnerships between academia and implementers can bridge this. There's enormous potential for joint modeling, health impact assessments, and real-time public communication systems that connect science with everyday decision-making. The third type of partnership is community and civil society partnerships to drive behavioral change and accountability. Even when policies are strong, success depends on whether families, workers, or small businesses understand the risks and feel equipped to act. We see a gap in localized, culturally relevant behavioral strategies, approaches tailored to how people live, work, cook, and commute. This is where youth groups, women's networks, and community health workers become essential. they're the trusted messengers. In several countries, community groups have helped translate technical air quality alerts into practical household actions. And their involvement in community air monitoring has encouraged local governments to be more transparent and responsive. And finally, regional platforms that align learning, data, and investments. Platforms established by international and regional organizations play a vital role. They provide structure, cross-border learning, standardized methodologies, and coherent regional agendas. But one major gap remains: the bridge between regional consensus and country-level implementation. We often see excellent regional frameworks like RAPAC, but translating them into finance, country-led programs require implementers who can convene actors, support government, and connect evidence and community needs. So in summary, the partnerships that matter most are those that bring all the pieces together. Governments linking health, environment, transport, and planning. Scientists helping translate data into action. Communities ensuring solutions are trusted and equitable. Regional platforms aligning standards and investment. So stronger collaboration across these fronts is what will turn regional ambition into real, country-led, people-centered action. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Akim, where do you see the biggest opportunities for public-private partnership to accelerate clean air action across the region? How can private sector innovation support governments in expanding monitoring coverage, improve data quality, and make information more accessible for decision-making?
Yeah, thank you for the question and the opportunity to share my thoughts here. I think one of the biggest opportunities for public and private partnerships in the Asia-Pacific region is expanding and strengthening air quality monitoring systems. So across the region, there's a very wide range of monitoring capacity. So some countries have relatively dense and well-maintained networks of reference stations, while others still have very limited infrastructure, and in some cases, only a few stations covering very, very large areas. So this uneven coverage makes it difficult to fully understand pollution patterns and to design targeted policy responses. So public-private partnerships can help address that gap through the development of hybrid monitoring networks. So these networks combine three key components: reference base stations, calibrated networks of low-cost sensors, and integrated data platforms that bring the information together. So importantly, this is not about randomly placing low-cost sensors across a city. Effective hybrid networks really require deliberate planning, deciding where reference stations should be located, how the local sensors can expand the spatial coverage, and also how the data platform integrates the measurements. So modern systems can also include automatic calibration and quality assurance methods that allow the local sensors to benefit from the accuracy of the reference stations. So one major advantage of hybrid networks is that they can dramatically lower the overall cost of national monitoring systems. This is often a problem here. So, for example, together with UNICEF in Lao PDR, we supported a project that deployed a nationwide network of 160 local sensors. So it actually covered the entire country with a monitoring network and with a total project cost of less than 50,000 USD. And that's often the cost of actually a reference station in many places. So this does not replace the reference-grade monitoring, but it provides valuable national-wide visibility and helps governments better understand pollution patterns and prioritize interventions. An important lesson from these types of projects is that monitoring networks should not only focus on hardware deployment, but also on long-term sustainability and local capacity. This means training local institutions, universities, technical teams so that they can maintain the systems, interpret the data, and continue operating the network independently. Public-private partnerships can be very effective here because companies can provide technology and innovation, while governments and academic institutions ensure long-term ownership and integration into national air quality management systems. Hybrid monitoring systems can also play an important role in addressing transboundary air pollution, which is a major issue in this region, particularly with the seasonal ice events that we actually have right now. So if countries across the region can contribute data to a regional real-time air quality platform with high spatial coverage, it would allow policymakers and scientists to better understand how pollution moves across borders, identify pollution sources more quickly, and coordinate responses more effectively. Dense monitoring networks combined with open regional data systems could therefore become a very powerful tool for regional cooperation. The private sector can contribute significantly to this ecosystem through sensor innovation, connectivity, data platforms, and analytic tools, while the government can provide the regulatory framework, long-term institutional support, and the reference infrastructure that anchors that system. There's also an additional benefit when monitoring systems follow open source principles. This helps ensure that government communities are not locked into proprietary systems, and it makes monitoring technology easier to maintain, repair, and adapt to local needs. Finally, I would like to emphasize that open data is not the end goal, it's actually the starting point. So the ultimate objective is to translate air quality data into effective policies, sustained reductions in air pollution. Monitoring networks should therefore not only collect data, but also support decision-making, public communication, and targeted interventions. So if we combine strong reference infrastructure, well-designed hybrid monitoring networks, open data systems, and regional cooperation, public-private partnerships can play a major role in accelerating cleaner action across the Asia-Pacific region. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Akin. Now for a second round, for all of you, what do you should be the top 3 priorities for the region for joint collective action on air pollution?
Thank you, Alicia. In fact, we have been discussing these issues over the last 2 days with the common features of regional collaboration. And we understand that there are 2 areas we all agreed on, that the sharing and exchange of knowledge, data, and best practices is one area. And at the same time, we can consider the regional monitoring and forecasting initiatives that should be taken up. But above all, we feel that we should develop a good regional action program on air pollution, which should consider the priority areas like clean cooking, sustainable waste management, particularly considering the resource recovery facility, and as well as the landfill gas recovery. And at the same time, I also feel that we should promote the renewable energy at regional scale, which can benefit also climate change mitigation. So there are 2 areas we should consider at regional scale, and a good and very comprehensive regional action program to address the air pollution to be seriously thought of at regional scale. Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, for me, I will focus mostly on the emission management because I feel that it's time for us to have a joint collaboration on that. But if we're going to separate it into 3 categories, I will say the first one is systematically measurement or monitoring, because we have to assure that the data will be come up with a good quality, that the policy maker or the regulator can use that kind of data for further management. The second part is the emission inventory, because we don't need to do the measurement for every single emission source. But the emission inventory will help us, will assist us mostly in the area-based management. And I think this is the good way that the international collaboration should happen. The next one is, once we have already the emission data, then we can use it to in modeling or forecasting. that will enable the use of the data and also assist the policymaker to come up with an appropriate mitigation measure. So I would say that emission management is the item that we should go for the international regulation.
Thank you.
Unsurprisingly, I will of course say finance. But just to highlight, it was down to three things. First of all, an enabling environment for finance, and that includes a supportive policy framework that not only introduces new policy, but also ensures policy coherence. So, for example, looking at how energy subsidies, what is the interplay between that and the efforts on addressing air quality? So not to look at policies in silos. The second would be to prepare pipelines of projects, and for that we need to deploy technical assistance, we need to increase capacity and institutional strength. And I think it's been proven that well-prepared, well-structured, programmatic approaches can mobilize financing. And third, where there are still challenges, where there are still financing gaps, it's about using blended finance approaches, so using concessional and commercial finance to make projects bankable. That is through the use of guarantees, climate finance, and many other approaches. We have examples that work. Let's share them much. Thanks.
Thank you. John?
Thank you. I'd like to highlight three key priorities. The first one is, of course, shared regional data and evidence, but not only air quality data. We need comparable air quality and health data across countries, so everyone is working from the same evidence base. The second one is stronger cross-sector coordination. Environment, health, transport, energy, and planning must align policies and budgets because air pollution cannot be solved in silos. And the third one, I'd like to also highlight about community-driven action and accountability. Policies only work when people understand and trust them. So partnering with civil society through initiatives like citizen science approach can ensure solutions would reach households and protect the most vulnerable. Thank you.
So my three items, obviously it's about monitoring. So first, really expand monitoring coverage across the region. What I mentioned earlier, there's still very uneven infrastructure in place. So combining these reference stations with well-designed hybrid sensor networks can really dramatically increase the spatial coverage that we need, I think, on many different levels, and also at reduced costs. Second, develop interoperable and regional real-time air quality data systems. Air pollution, as we know, is a transboundary problem, and shared platforms with dense spatial data can help countries better understand and respond to regional haze and cross-border pollution. And thirdly, invest in capacity building and sustainable monitoring systems. So monitoring systems should be maintainable, adaptable, and usable by local institutions, avoiding technological lock-in and enable long-term operation. So clean air policy starts with measurement, but it succeeds only when the measurement leads to action.
Thank you very much. At this time, we'd like to open the floor for any questions that you may have. Please just go ahead, raise your hand, and use the mic in front of you. And if you want, indicate who you want to answer the question. Any questions? Yes, please, go ahead.
Hello everyone, my name is Liu Xin, I'm the program director of the Energy Policy. And I would like to thank give me the opportunity to share some comments on the questions. And it's my honor to support UNESCAP to the development of the RPP program and learn more from the panelists. And I have two comments. First, that I think Director General gave us a lot of experience on all the air quality improvements. It's very successful in China. But besides the technology and policy, whether we can learn more from China's like the regulation or the institutions experience, I think why the political leader pay much attention why they recognize air quality as in national governance system and the constitutions. I think this is provide the legal safeguard on the country level air quality management, whether other countries can learn from that. And I think it's very important to identify the responsibilities from the regulation development, not only just for the environmental department's role, but also for other powerful departments such as economic, energy, industrial, transportation, etc. And the second comment is about the regional air quality management. I used to work for the changing Hebei province air quality management office. I know it's very hard to coordinate these different local governments to work together. The key is to identify the responsibilities of the different provinces or cities. The first is the scientific analysis. I think in that sense, the modeling data is very important. But more important is the source apportionment to identify the responsibilities. Who should be pay more attention or be responsible more to these issues. And the second, planning, because like China, the Jingji region, Beijing and the surrounding regions, China has a very powerful, unified, centralized the regional plan to, coordinate and manage the regional air quality movement. Whether in the South Asia or Southeast Asia, under the leadership of the CCA and the UNESCO or UN system, you can also develop a unified regional plan with ambitious goals and the common consensus, like by the 2030, the whole region can reach the 30 microgram per meter for climate, and every country has the tailored or the countryside the air quality management plan. I think this is very important. And it's also needed to prioritize the key sectors and locations, such as the receptor-sensitive region, high emission areas, such as the industrial clusters, sensitive areas that affect air qualities, such as the upwind direction, the diffusion channels, or the weak diffusion areas with low wind speed, which might need more support from other areas, more emission reduction measures. So that's my comment.
Thank you very much. Yes, does anyone want to respond to that?
Just one point, actually he has rightfully mentioned about the regional action program with a specific target, regional target. And obviously we should have regional target in terms of PM2.5, whether it is 35 microgram or less than 35, we have to decide on at regional level. And then how to achieve this regional target, PM2.5 or PM10, and which activities that we can consider for achieving this target. So I support the idea. Thank you very much.
Does anyone else have?
Well, I think it's a big challenge on that, particularly when we're talking about the networking, because when we join in any networking, what we have to do, what we have to consider for the first time is what we're going to get from that participation. So if you look at the experience of ENN, they start from what they call the step-by-step approach. So under the step-by-step approach is, they just do it gradually, not bring the very serious problem from the first time, from the beginning of the participation. Then they will make a trustable people group together, trustable data together, and then further implement on that kind of emission mitigation or reduction in the future. But from the beginning, you may have to come up with a kind of step-by-step approach. That's my suggestion.
Anyone else?
I have a quick comment. I think in the region, many countries have very different levels of open data, and I think that makes it very difficult to really, get this data together in a common platform and then use it for transboundary haze management. So I think this is still where a lot of advocacy and possibly also policy work needs to be done so that we actually get to this level where we can actually collect the data and analyze it.
Okay, thank you. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, so we can accept any more questions. But do feel free to send your questions through the, I think there's a QR code for this, so that we can properly respond to them. I won't really summarize everything that has been discussed so far, but I think what I just want to highlight is what everyone has said, which is the need to actually expand, strengthen, and improve our monitoring to ensure that we actually have real-time data, and not just data, but quality data that can actually be used for policy making and can properly guide action by all. Second is the importance of recognizing that we need to also improve coordination and collaboration among the different sectors and the different stakeholders. And this is critical to actually ensure that at the end of the day, we have action on the ground. The regional platforms that have been shared with us provide a very good opportunity for sharing knowledge and best practices. If I may also add, we should also be sharing what have failed, so we also learn from them and we are properly guided in our actions. And at the end of the day, I just want to pick up what has been said in terms of whatever we measure is only really important or meaningful if it leads to actual action. And we keep in mind that we are all in this together, we are all part of the problem, and we all can do something in terms of taking action to solve this problem. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. Thank you to our panelists. Can we give them a round of applause, please? Thanks again. And thank you very much to the organizers as well for giving us this opportunity to highlight the urgency and the critical role of regional cooperation.
Thank you very much to all of our speakers and panelists. Again, Science and Solutions Exchange will happen outside at the exhibition area over coffee and snacks. Your feedback is very important to us, so we encourage all participants to please complete the post-conference survey. You'll find the QR code displayed on the screen right now. As a token of our appreciation, respondents will receive a limited edition TAQ souvenir, which you can claim at the Clean Air Asia booth starting now. Sessions will resume at 11 a.m. on level 1 and theater in the ground floor, and lunch will be served after the sessions at the reception hall at the ground floor and level 1. Please be back here at the conference room 2 for our closing plenary this afternoon at 1:30 p.m. Again, that's 1:30 p.m. Thank you and enjoy your coffee.
Okay.
Hi, Lucifer. Good morning, my dear friend. Good morning. Actually, finally. Yes. How about you? Finally. Yeah. Why don't we do a presentation? Actually, all of these organizations that are presenting are somehow, one way or another, are working with these ADBA, UNEP, SCAL, CCSE, all of these organizations. So that's why someone from the government was from Pakistan. So they presented yesterday, and someone else was also presenting. So that's why they only invite they only present those who they work with, who they funded or supported. So we are, compared to the other countries, to be honest with you, so we are a little bit lagging next time, because we need to come forward and to do something. So we have almost 10 countries. Thank you so much. It's the same with India and Japan. Yes, I'm more than the results got yesterday.
I have to find this.
You'll be here or you are living? Thank you.
Birth benefits the man who comes on the
Diba, so parang feeling ko kasi I think he's gonna
I didn't know that you were here. Who are you with? Is your new exhibit here? Let's do that. Yes, 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 I haven't got a chance to meet your executive director actually. That would be great because we have been talking about renewing our MOU and what would be the next steps. Exactly. So I think I'm not sure if she has been connected with us yet. No, brief her as well. So sounds good. Thank you so much. It's great to see you both. When are you guys leaving? Sunday. So you spend time a bit in Reno. Well, it depends on what. Is this your first time in Bangkok?
For me, yes.
Oh my god.
Yeah, for both of us.
Really?
I went to
Oh, you did? So are you looking for cultural or like shopping?
both.
Well, I mean the standard would be the Grand Palace. I'm not sure if you've been.
Not yet.
Oh really?
So the moment we got here, we were like, okay, three of us.
The main cultural thing would be the Grand Palace, and inside there's a temple, the Emerald Temple. That's the standardized. It's gonna be a bit hot, of course.
It's okay, we're Filipino.
Oh right, similar, right? So I think that's it. You can in the evening, if you like, there are a lot of night markets. You can just search as well, which is the nearest to you. I think that's also fun. And if you want to do like a serious shopping, there's a mall so, but it's not like a high-end kind of shopping mall. It's like very basic. So yeah, that one is very popular as well. So yeah, just shoot me a message if you don't need anything or have any questions.
I don't have your,
What's that? Of course. So plus 6 81 279 1221. Sure.
There's a lot of parts.
Yes. Nice meeting you. Someone familiar. Let's do that. Sounds good. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your time.
See you around.
What about the afternoon? Did I get there?
Yes, the secretary has to go to the secretary. GOS. Valerie, look for Valerie first. Yeah, okay.
In the region, so many projects. You're the project. We did. We have oh, yes, of course. Yes, sir, I am. I need a part of my work. Yes.
That's where I get my favorite.
Yeah, I only saw him very briefly in the foyer. I don't know about it. You know Connie.
What I was like,
So I'm based here. One age.
So the governor was doing something. That's why I told them we need to be next Saturday go off. We had like a day there, a week, yeah, to do. And that's that. Vomit. Oh, nice. And then we got to the aeroplane to go on. And then it took me a few days to recover. So now I'm sleeping the wrong day. No, that's nice. Nice to meet you. I think we took lot of time, but they will. Yeah. He retired. Back to the project. My cooling off ends on this day. Find something. So in 5 years, not cooling off. Yeah, I know. You told me. You told me. David was saying, oh, how did you manage? I managed and somehow maybe I am under the radar, nobody bothered. But it took care of it. Yeah, because because I retired on May 20, so then they wanted me to start on the 1st, but this waiver thing, it took up to August 10th or something. It's just Yeah, so slow. But the initial objective is, as far as my role is concerned, the confirmation modulation is investment project, and Ministry of Finance also. Then ADB will hire a consulting team to prepare it for it. So now I am doing assessment.
Fuel and advanced technology vehicles.
Yeah, you and the mobility. Okay, that's it.
Thank you, madam.
Good, important aspects. They all have to come together.
Right.
That's true. Okay,
Thank you.